Hi, my Sassy friend. Welcome back to another episode of Cash is Ask Podcast. My name is Lisa Marie. I am the brains and the fractional CFO and wealth mentor behind this podcast and Transcendent Wealth Company. If this is your first time watching, welcome. You are in for a treat, and we're going to talk about money. That's what we talk about. We
Woohoo!
kick it to the curb. We talk about my favorite subject. And I'm excited for today. We've been waiting a while to do this, and I'm excited to have her here. I have Therese Nicklas. Nicklas. I'm butchering that. I'm so sorry. She's a certified financial planner, a certified money coach, and a certified success principles coach. Empowers executive and entrepreneurial women with smart strategies to build a new, big, bold life with certainty, clarity, and confidence. And as a result of her True Wealth coaching program, clients learn to say no to burnout, feeling empty, and doing nothing but work. They say yes to designing a fulfilling life they love. True Wealth, a life filled with joy, purpose, and balance. And I adore that because I work with my clients on building wealth that's truly aligned with their values, their goals, their wants, and their desires, and it not being cookie cutter and it not being where they have to burn out and they feel like they're on this never ending hamster wheel. And so this just spoke to me. So I'm so excited to have you here. We're going to dive in. So I would love to just know a little bit of your journey around money. We all have it. So, can you just tell us just a little bit of what started your journey and maybe what was the pivotal moment of realizing that, you can have wealth and then you went into the world of being able to teach other people the same thing?
Sure. So do you go Lisa Marie or just Lisa?
Lisa Marie, good.
Okay. I had a sister, Lisa Marie. So my journey started when I was a child, and I didn't realize that it started. I had a grandmother who was phenomenal with managing money, and she didn't have any. So she was just like a miracle worker when it came to her finances. And I watched her for until she passed, and I was in my 20s when she passed. But as a child, Lisa Marie, I had the privilege of being at her elbow by myself. And we came from a really big family, but I just happened to luck out that I would go over there on Sunday morning and spend the morning with her while she prepared Sunday dinner for herself and her extended family. And while I was there, she would tell me all these stories about her life when she grew up in abject poverty in Sicily, not in a way that complained about it like, oh, poor me. It was just a story. It was just where she came from. And she talked about how she and my grandfather came to this country because they felt like they would have a better opportunity, which they did. Now, they were never wealthy people from a financial point of view, but I would say they were very wealthy from an emotional point of view. They had what I call true wealth. And what I mean by that is when you have enough money so that your financial position is in alignment with your values. And for her, the most important thing was being able to provide for her family in a way that she could have Sunday dinner and be surrounded by her extended family, being her children, her in-laws, and her grandchildren. And there were about 30 people at the table. And that was a big deal to her to be able to provide that, to be able to have that ability. What's so interesting to me, and as I was growing up and like thinking of her stories and how she did so much with so little, she had 4 children. 3 of her children, all boys, all, her sons, they all went into the same field. They all had their own business in the exact same profession, and only one was financially successful. They all had great businesses, Lisa Marie, but what they didn't have was their mother's ability to manage money. And they didn't have that because of their mindset, because they made decisions that were counterproductive. One of her sons followed in her footsteps. He happens to still be alive. He's 95 years old. He's still living his lifestyle. And I try to see him as often as I can. He's the only uncle I have left. And we had a conversation a couple months ago about this subject. And he said to me, he said, Terry, I really wish my brothers listened to me. They made fun of me. They joked. They'd say, oh, Charlie, he has the last dollar he ever had. And they would tease him because of his ability to handle money. But he lived within his means. He knew he had to save money for the future. And he never complained about it. That's just how you did things. Where his brothers, one was always looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. And the other one, no matter how much money he had, he was like the glutton at the all-you-can-eat buffet. So no matter how much he had, it was never enough. And I witnessed that. And as I grew up, and, my husband and I, when we were first married, we had financial struggles. We got married very young with nothing to our name. But we worked really hard. We worked together, and we were both on the same page as far as what we valued. So because of that, we saved for our first home. I bought my first house when I was 23. And that was really the game changer for us, was buying real estate, was owning that piece of real estate. We sold it 6 years later. That was not a smart move. We bought something else. That was the problem, not selling the house. It was what we bought. Had we stayed put, we would have been better off, but, you learn the hard way. But when I look back on those days, it was my grandmother's lessons, the things I learned from her of how to do a lot with the little, that got me through some very difficult times.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand that, I teach people that you don't have to save, not just save. And there's two extremes. It's hoarding and never spending, and then also spending more than you have or faster than you get it in.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell people, they're like, okay, well, then what can you do? Well, you can do both. You can live and enjoy your life and go on a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Save for it. Go on a vacation. But you can live and enjoy your life and save money for the future. It is possible to do both.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what needs to be said is that you have to be strategic, you have to be responsible, and you have to be willing to look at the money. You have to know what's going on. Or have someone, working with someone, especially if you have a business, working with someone to help you get those things, right? Because, a lot of times what happens with entrepreneurs is we bury our head in the sand and we just go, oh, well, I'll just go make more money. Well, that's where the hamster wheel and never-ending financial merry-go-round of chaos comes from, at least in my opinion. That's what I call it, the never-ending merry-go-round of financial chaos. And that's where that comes from, is from burying your head, and not looking at those things. And it's really important to look at it. One of the things that I wanted to touch on and just ask is, it sounds like you were able to have some savviness with the management because you paid attention and those kind of things. And how are you able to, or what is something that you recommend to an entrepreneur, say, for example, who started their business and they're like, okay, how do I discern from time for me to sign up for a training or take something, or if I should wait? Because a lot of times entrepreneurs have this habit of, let's say, just spending. They see something, they think it's going to give them results, and they'll go and they'll invest. And then they'll see something else and then they'll go and invest. And then the next thing they know, they've invested in all these things, and all that's happened is they drained money, right? And they're not really, I tell people all the time they need to be strategic, but I'd love to know, honestly, how you take that power back and what you suggest to your clients and to others. So my listeners have a way of going, oh, okay, I can do this easy step of discernment and take power back to be able to tell if it's time to invest in something. And I'm not even talking about if they have the money or not. They can have the money in the account. That's what I'm talking. You've got the money. It's not whether or not you've got the money. It's whether or not it's right to invest at that moment.
Okay, so if I were looking at a training, for example, we'll use that. And I agree with you 1,000%, Lisa Marie. There are many entrepreneurs, especially if they're less than 5 years into their business, and they look for every shiny object to make running their business easy.
And that's because so many entrepreneur coaches, and I mean, used to, they don't do it anymore, but well, some do, but so many of them have said, oh, you buy this program and they make it sound like overnight you're going to be a 6-figure success or a 7-figure success, and you're going to follow my steps. And
well, discernment number one, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So that's discernment number one.
Amen to that one.
If they are hyperbole all over the place, just use your head. What are the chances of you being able to turn yourself into a 6-figure rock star overnight? What have you done up to this point to get you from wherever you are to where you want to be? So let's say we'll use the scenario, you're less than 5 years into your business. What have you done to perfect your skills? Do you even know what your offer is? What are you presenting to the public, and how are you presenting it to get them to buy from you? If you don't have the answers to those questions, those are the first things you need to address, in my opinion.
And if you do have the answers to those, in my opinion, the next question is, and will this investment help me to go to the next level? Like, I went from 2 stamps to 6 figures in 3 years. Okay. There are other entrepreneurs who've gone to 6 figures in a year or 2 years. There's some that take a little bit longer than that. It's not a rate. And that's one thing that I tell people. And when you're looking at something and, even if you're at multiple 6 figures or high 5 figures or right at 6 figures, if you're looking at something and you know the answers to it, I tell them, I say, stop and look and say, will this help me go from this number to this number and reach that goal? Or if it's to help you get to a new ideal client, or if it's to help you create a program, whatever it is, will it help? And then if you say yes right now, then the next question I tell my clients, and I tell the people to ask is how. And I want you to actually write down how. And then in realizing that part of that is, okay, and what will be required of me?
And I would say,
we miss that piece so often.
Right.
And if you can't, y'all, I added a program and I did not ask these questions. And if I asked these questions, I would not have invested in that program, because at the time I couldn't add 3 calls a month to my schedule. So it was actually more than that, like 2 calls a week to my schedule. So that meant I wasn't going to be able to, especially the time that they were doing them, I couldn't add them. I wasn't going to be able to be present. And those are things that we need to take into consideration when we're making an investment, because one, just making the investment and them saying they're going to provide these things, you got to realize you're going to have to do some work. Something's going to be required of you. And you need to ask yourself what's going to be required. Write it down so you see it. And then say, okay, is this something I can do right now? Can I fit this into my schedule? Can I commit to doing this right now? If the answer is no, pretty sure Trace is going to agree with me. Please don't invest in it.
And I would like to add to that, Lisa Marie, that it's not even just your time commitment. But what I would like to look
your
at,
energy, your time, your energy,
right?
The whole.
But even beyond that, if let's say you're at 5 figures and you've been in business for 12 months and you got yourself from 0 to 5 figures in 12 months, that's pretty darn good. Okay.
Yes.
So now you think this new shiny object is going to get you to 6 figures. Let's say we'll call the 5 figures 50,000. So you want to double your revenue to 100,000. We'll just use clean numbers for this exercise. Look at what you've already done and just ask yourself, what do I need to do to double my revenue? What can I do twice as much? Or what can I do better? Because I've already done this piece by myself with no thanks or help from anyone. Do I need to spend X number of dollars, and will I 10X that investment? Because if, let's say, you're spending $10,000 or $25,000 on a program, which isn't hard to do, and they're promising that you're going to double your revenue, well, you're at 50 now, Doubling it brings you to 100, so that means that you're adding 50K. You're spending 50K, so really you're only netting out 25K, right? So what do I have to do if I did nothing with, I don't sign up for this program, I want to net 75,000 by the end of the year. What can I look at that I've already done? What can I either improve or do more frequently? Maybe you're somebody who you're running webinars, and whenever you run a webinar, you bring on 10 new clients, just for the argument. All right. And you've run that webinar twice a year. Well, why don't you run it 4 times a year? Doing that might double your revenue. Maybe you buy ads. Maybe you instead invest in some ads. Improve your copy on your landing page. It could be little tweaks that could make all the difference. So before you go out and invest, look at what's already in your basket. That's how I like to explain it to people. Think of your knowledge base, your investments, as being in a great big basket. Your basket might already be full. You probably have everything or pretty close to everything that you need already. And I've seen this mistake, especially with entrepreneurs that are in the healing world, like they're Reiki practitioners or they're yoga instructors or they're things like that. They want to get every certification known to man. And they
don't
feel,
need to.
and they don't
And
need
they
to.
don't
And
need
they
to.
feel like
They've already got their expertise. They
Right.
don't need to.
they feel like if I get this one more expertise, then that's going to make me more
And
attractive.
a lot of times, the only thing that needs to be changed is one, how they manage their money, and two, it's normally taking something off of their plate so that they can tweak what they were doing. So like you said, instead of 2 webinars, having 4 webinars.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, but I'm having to do this. Okay, well, we could hire somebody from Upwork, or you can hire a VA part-time out of the US and pay them, say, $300 or $500 a month, which does not come out to 25 grand, 50 grand, by the way. And they're going to do that. And now you freed up, which, by the way, will take them less time to do than what it would take you, because that's one of the reasons why it's so sweet to have one, especially a good one.
Well, you have to have a good one. I've had a lot that aren't good.
Especially a good one. I've had some bad ones. I have a really good one right now. So if you want some saying, hey, Lisa, I need to know some good ones, I've got some that are on my referral list, and I have one that I work with, and she's mine, and she's very, very good, and I know for a fact she would do amazing. But the point is sometimes it's taking, I'm going to say this, for someone who loves to give like me, it's difficult to give control over to someone for them to take the lead on some part of your baby. And yet, when you do that, it frees up the stress and allows you to focus on something that you could create. So like TikTok reels or Instagram reels, right? Because they need to be you, and you could create those, and then they can go and create the strategy and say, and do the audit and say, hey, this Instagram, this is the reason why it's not working, because they're phenomenal at Instagram. As a VA, that's their thing. And then they can help create a strategy for it to make it to where you can reach more people and grow your ideal client. So now you've just tweaked that little thing, took it off your page, and now you're able to go and do a couple of TikTok reels and have another webinar, which now just brought in even more. So that's the whole point of that. I am not going to tell you never to invest in a program or a coach. That is not what I'm going to say. I will say that right now, because that's not the answer. Well, I have 2 coaches myself. I have a tax advisor. I have a financial planner that I work with. I have all of these things, okay? I have an accounting background, okay? I am a fractional CFO, and I have people who are in a different zone of genius than me that I hire, right? Coaches. I've had mindset coach. I've had, I can't think of the word, but I had a different type of trauma coach to help me do a lot of healing. And again, there's different pieces. The point is not to go and just sign up for every program you see. Do your due diligence. Make sure it's going to be something that, like Therese said, it's not something that you could actually already do. right? Or hire someone to help you do to get you to a little bit here. Make sure it's going to be a true ROI, and it's going to be something that you can fit time and energy into.
And I,
Because again, if you can't have your time and energy in it, for the love of God, please don't invest in it.
right.
We all have made that.
Yeah.
And if it's something you really want to do, but you can't give the time and energy, it's okay to wait. It's okay to wait until you do have the divine energy.
Right.
And I just think it's really, really important that we understand part of becoming wealthy, part of staying wealthy, part of retaining and expanding that wealth is using your due diligence on when to invest in something, when not to invest in something, and when to hire somebody and when not to hire somebody, right? I just think that that is just so, so important. What is something, and I love the way because you gave them some steps, and that's what I love about this, is that you gave them some awesome steps that they can actually look at and say, okay, does this help me now? Will it help with the business? Or is it something I can do? I can look at my basket and I can do. And then when you find out, I think that I believe that sometimes it'll be something you could do, right? And then later there'll be a better investment that actually will get you to, oh, okay, I've done this. So I'm at this point. So now I can invest in this because now this is going to take me even further than what I thought. And I love that. I really, really do. Is there any other advice that you would give them when they are looking at whether or not to make an investment or whether or not to hire somebody, right? You know, I talked about how the ROI is not always money. Sometimes the ROI is time and energy. And by the way, if you've been watching my podcast before, you know that I created the 5 wealth codes because I think being wealthy is more than just money. It's your spiritual, your energetic, your mental, your physical, and your financial. And, you know, all of those things are affected. And so your time and your energy, sometimes those things are your ROI. What's one more tidbit you would share that they can walk, like a step or something they can do when they're looking?
Okay, I'd like to share a step and also an example.
Okay.
Okay, so the step that I would strongly urge you to take is asking yourself why this is important. And there's a reason I'm saying that. Because I've seen over and over again when someone is constantly buying that shiny object, it's out of fear. It's fear of taking the steps that they know they have to take. So if it's you're running 1 or 2 workshops a year, doubling that, there's fear. What if people don't show up? What if it's a flop? So because of that fear, you figure, oh, I'll spend money over here and I'm investing in myself. We kind of convince ourselves that we're investing in ourselves. So that's a good thing. So we talk ourselves into it. We go into this program. Most of the time when we're in that state of mind, we're only going in it halfway. So like Lisa Marie said, making sure you have the energy and the time. If you haven't done that background search on yourself and you're jumping into this new program, I really strongly urge you to ask yourself and be honest with yourself, why do I think this program is going to solve my problem? And if you come back and after doing some soul searching, and if you can't do it yourself, find a friend, call your mom, talk to somebody, hash that out because it could save you tens of thousands of dollars if you just have that conversation. And I'm going to give you one example of what I'm talking about. I was working with this woman who wants to start a business. Now she's telling me on the phone, I want to start a business. And she was literally all over the place. She really did not know what kind of a business she wanted to start. She had like 50 different ideas of what she could do. And I was trying to get her to hone down to one. Let's look at your basket of skills and let's look at what is viable. Well, then she goes off on this diatribe and said, well, you know what? I have an opportunity to go to this conference in Alaska. We live on the East Coast. So going to Alaska is very expensive. So she's looking at investing $10,000 between the cost of the conference, travel, food, etc., rather than just spending some time and doing a deep dive into her skill set and what would be a promising business. So I asked her point blank, and I was pretty tough on her because $10,000 is a lot of money and when you haven't even started yet. And I said to her, what is the outcome you expect to get from this conference? What are you going to gain? How is this going to 10x your investment of time, energy, and money? And what do you think you're going to come out with at the end of the day that you couldn't get just by sitting down and just quieting your mind and figuring out what you can do to start a business, or even hiring somebody for a couple of hours just to help you hash through that?
Right.
And she could not answer that question. Her response to me was, I haven't had a vacation in years. I said, well, that's a totally different conversation. If you want to take a vacation, but don't do this with the auspice that you're improving yourself and you're building a business, when really all you need is a vacation. You could take a weekend down the Cape and spend $500 and have a vacation. You don't need to spend $10,000 that you don't have. So do that soul searching, get help if you need to, and it doesn't even have to be paid help. Somebody that you trust their advice, and walk through and just be brutally honest, because that honesty and getting into the habit of being that honest with yourself, having that mindset of honesty is going to help you create true wealth. It's like building a money muscle. And I strongly encourage you to take that step.
I love that. I love that. You have a free offer for my listeners. Can you tell them about that?
Yes, I do. I'd love to. If you go to my website, and it's Wealth Coach for Women, that's FORWOMEN.com back forward slash
The backslash.
backslash
Forward slash.
P a
Love
line
those
that goes like
slashes.
this. Yeah.
It will also be in the show notes, but yeah, it'll be in the show notes. Go to her website. It's one of those slashes.
It's one of them slashes, and it's POD, P as in Paul, O as in ostrich, D as in David. And there is a toolkit there for building wealth that is free to you. Also, sign up for my email list, and you will get on my list for upcoming free workshops and any other goodies that I have coming out. I also have a free kit. It's right on my website. You don't have to, you can just scroll to the bottom of the website on the first page. And that is a transition checklist. So if you're in the process of thinking like you want to make a big change in your life, if you want to change jobs, you're thinking of launching a business, you think you might like to retire, but you don't know if you have enough money for it, download the checklist. It will at least get you started. It will give you a framework for where your mindset is right now, what you might need to create in order to make whatever your goal is happen.
I love it. And if today's episode gave you that loving kick in the assets, and you know it's time to get your money truly aligned, I don't want you to just listen and leave. I want you to book your wealth alignment call, and let's me and you map out your next bold move together. You don't have to do it alone. The wealth alignment call is free. This is what I do. And I just go ahead and just book it, and let's map it out. Let's give you some steps that you can take to really truly build wealth that's aligned with your values and your goals and your desires and your wants. And until next time, remember, confidence and cash are the ultimate power duo. And so go check in with your money. Please go check in with your money. And as always, have a fantastic and wealthy day. And until next time,